Okay, this is your boy Laddie Boy back with a new tutorial, and this time for this tutorial I'm gonna be demonstrating the stereo graphic equalizer for my main outputs and why I would prefer this rather than, let's say, this, or rather than this on my, let's see, on my left and right bus. As you can see, this is the parametric EQ that I can use on my left and right, my main output going to my speakers, and I showed you before, I also have this EQ and some other EQs in here, but for this demonstration I'm going to be using the graphic EQ. You would notice in a lot of live sessions where you have bands playing live and you had an external rack. In that external rack you would have your compressors, your EQs, your gates and whatever. Now today you have all these things in the software that you have access to. Now as it relates to the graphic EQ as opposed to the parametric EQ, you will see that the parametric EQ, you only have these selected bands that you can work with. This would be your low frequencies right up to here. You get up in your upper mids, and this is where your mids start getting up towards your high frequency, and you could boost the lows, the mids, and the heights. Or basically you can shape the song with this, but and also this EQ right here, you can shape the song of your individual channels, and you can use it on your master left and right. The reason why I would want to use this EQ as opposed to any other EQ is that it gives me access to the full frequency bandwidth from 20 hertz all the way to 20k, where I can tailor the sound of the output to suit what I'm hearing at the output of my speakers. So I'm not trying to tailor any individual channels with this EQ. What I would have done in here at this stage, I would have EQ, let's say this coming in here, whether it's my kick, my snare. For in this instance, let me put the track on to play and you can hear a little bit. So what I'm not doing, but I haven't actually done any mixing here, because it's not about actually mixing, but what I've done is that in these individual channels, what I would have done is my EQ for each and every instrument that's coming in here, whether it be EQ, compression, and what's not, gating. I would have done that at the channel level. This is just the reason I'm using this EQ is to tailor the sound of my main output. So for that, what I would do is here you can see I have inserted this EQ across my left and right, so it affects everything passing through my left and right output going to my speakers. That is the control overall sound. What this actually does, excuse me, is allow me to tailor my lows and mid-range, my lower mids, which would be, my lows would be basically these frequencies here. I would say around to, I would say it's like 63. Then these here, I would say is a bit more of my, I'm just doing a reference. This is not how the EQ will be set up. I'm just trying to show you what I'm doing with my, I want to say these here would be my lows. This here would basically be my low mid. Maybe as high as here. Then this would be my high mids. This is just a reference. And this would be my highs. I'm just drawing a reference. I'm not showing, this is not any particular cutoff area, but this also can be, you can see high mid. So I'm treating this EQ similarly like this EQ, like my parametric EQ, but you would see in my parametric EQ I don't have any, I just have control over certain areas of my frequency. I cannot really, I only could use, let's say, my Q to make it broad or wide. But in this case, the fact that I'm using this one here, it's like setting it up, but have individual frequencies I can jump to and actually cut a boost in that area to affect my my audio coming out. And the good thing about the graphic EQ from the analog standpoint is that in a live session, you have the opportunity to grab these faders here, all these faders, with the tip of your side of your index finger, and move them up or down in groups. So maybe like 4 pieces at a time or 5 pieces at a time. You could bring these up, you could bring them down. Now in the digital domain, you would notice that unless you have these assigned to some kind of software controller, you can't really do that. But what made a graphic EQ so good for live sound is that all these controls are controlled with you using your hands, your fingers to actually carry up and down different segments of your mix in real time to tailor the song that is coming out at the front of the house. So that's where the graphic EQ actually is very good. So what I would do, I'd get rid of this and I would pick this and then go back to my graphic. It would be reset. So you can see I'm back to 0. I didn't save it so I could just recall it. That's why I changed it and brought it back. So now I'm gonna play the music, and as I play the music, one of the things you would find, unless you have really good subwoofers, listening to, or the venue you're playing in, 20 hertz is so low that it's just rumbling you would hear coming out of your speakers. And 20K is so high, maybe your high frequency drivers may not produce that much. But I'll play the mix. As I'm mixing, I'll try to give you an understanding of what the EQ would probably end up looking like as the song is playing. So I'll cut the audio at a minute and I'll do some EQ for about 5 minutes, and then I'll stop it and bring and wrap up what I'm trying to say about the graphic EQ. So you can see here I've brought up my low end to make the lows sound more powerful. Now I'll work on my low mids, and for this song what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually dip the low mids. So now I've taken out a bit of low mids out of my front of the house speakers, and you can also do this with your monitors too if you want to put this across your monitor bus. So now I'm going to play it again, and I'm going to mess with some of my upper mid frequencies. Here I'm going to cut some more of my very harsh sounding heights. So you can see what I've done here. I've boosted some low frequencies in this area here. I've cut some mid-range frequencies, and these settings are not any settings that you have to actually follow. I'm listening to this audio actually on headphones, so it doesn't nowhere replicate what I'm gonna hear from the PA system that is out front. This is just a reference to show what I'm trying to achieve. So I've boosted some lows, I cut some low mids, I boosted a bit of the mid-range itself, then I cut some of the high mid and it boosted some of the high frequency. And I also have control over, I can add some more volume to the outcoming master. I'll bring it back after you EQ the signal would either get a little louder or a little softer. You could always push back up to the volume that you were before you did that. To demonstrate that, what I would have to do is actually take it out of insert, and then so you could hear what's happening, and then put back the insert. So in this regard, you hear where I scoop low mid, kick in a little upper mid, boost some mids, cut some high mids, and boosted a little heights on it. So what's coming out of the front, I'm trying to tailor it to the venue I'm actually playing in. Now, as opposed to, let's say this, I can achieve some similarity, but you will see right here pulse doesn't go down no lower than 200. So this particular EQ, let me try and use let's see if it was take this one here. So this one here has 20 hertz that I could boost, but I can't boost, and you can see I can boost 20, 30, 60, 100 or cut and these things, but I don't have no individual way of boosting between 20 and 30, 30 and 60, more than messing with the bandwidth. Or you can see in this case of this one here, this EQ, if this was on my master output, I have control over these frequencies. Low, your lows, another low. It's actually a low shelf, your lows, your low mid, your height, your upper mids, and your very heights. Yes, I have this same possibility with this EQ, but I don't have the overall control that I can get from a graphic. Say I wanted to boost my lows. Get the EQ on. You can see I have my low frequency here set at, I can bring that down to, let's see, anywhere down in the same range. But the only way I can control this EQ is through how wide the shape of the bell is, so it affects all the frequencies around it. Now if I put this in this particular mode, this is the same. This gives me the opportunity to see what I was doing here with this on my effects. I still have this EQ here. So to retract what I was saying, if I wanted to take up one of these effects bus to do this, I can. If I don't want to take up the effects bus to do this, then I could use it here as a graphic EQ, which makes a lot of sense. So I think I would probably use it here rather than take up an effects bus for that, and I would do the same thing. So let me get rid of this one. So I take it out of the chain. So I come back to my EQ here, and I'm gonna play the music one more time, and I'm gonna make changes to my graphic EQ while listening to the music, and it's gonna be quick. So you can see here I have very little information happening here, a lot of information here, but very little information there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna play the music and do some boosting and cutting while you listen to it. So you can see by adjusting my different notch filters, I've been able to tailor the song to my front of the house speakers to allow the music to sound more powerful in the low end, less mids in the mids, and a little more heights in the high end to get it into a more stereo sound than atmosphere. I hope, and these settings that I'm doing again is not no precise settings that you have to use. I'm listening on headphones, so I can't really tell what the front of the house will be hearing. But this is just to show you that it's one of my go-to is to use a graphic EQ rather than a parametric EQ on my output so that I can control the music. It's like putting analog EQ between your output bus and the XR18 and go into your speaker system, a way to tailor your mix to the venue that you're playing in. So hope you guys like this video. If you like this video, hit me up. Peace out.